Welcome, Jasper United Methodist Church family, to our Wednesday check-in. I'm in the sanctuary today because I've got a few things to share with you concerning sanctuary and worship for the coming months. The first is something you may already be familiar with because we've had a Facebook post about this possible fundraiser here for our missions group. They came up with this idea to help some of our nonprofits in the community who have been hurt financially by the COVID-19. And so the idea came about as one of our members was watching the baseball games and seeing all the cardboard cutouts in the stands. And the thought was, is there a possibility that we could have cardboard cutouts in our sanctuary as a way to raise some funds for some much needed ministries in our community? So I want to introduce you to a friend. Please say hello to Cardboard Cutout Dex. Yes, there she is. So for a small donation of $25 and the willingness to submit us a headshot, we will create your own cardboard cutout for the sanctuary. It'll be placed in one of our seats that has a red ribbon to help us with our physical distance. Now, this is a way to show your support for some of the nonprofits in our community. It is also a way for us to put a few more faces in our empty chairs. And so I want to encourage you to join the crowd. Let's create a crowd of people here in our sanctuary, both in person and with our cardboard cutouts. Hope that you'll consider it. It's a donation of $25 and submitting a headshot of yourself that we can then blow up a little bit and make a cardboard cutout for you. So consider that. We'd love to see your faces here in the sanctuary. It's much more enjoyable for me to look out and see faces than empty chairs. So I encourage you to consider this in the coming months. The next things I want to share with you have to do with Advent and Christmas. Our staff met yesterday and we discussed and made some decisions about both Advent and Christmas. Now, for those who may not be familiar with the word Advent, Advent are the 4 weeks before Christmas. They begin this year on November the 29th. That'll be the first Sunday of Advent, and run the next Sundays till the 20th of December, which would be the Sunday before the 24th. So I want to encourage you to come and visit with us, be a part of our sanctuary, be a part of our services and our in-person worship during the season of Advent. We're going to have 2 worship services. We're going to go back to 2 worship services in the season of Advent. We will have a 9 o'clock Awakening Contemporary service, and we will have an 11 o'clock traditional service. That's a 9 o'clock Awakening Contemporary service and an 11 o'clock traditional service. So I encourage you to come and join us during the Sundays of Advent, which begin 11/29. You will need to make a reservation for those services, and it'll be beginning the Monday before each one. You can call and make a reservation for either the contemporary at 9 or the traditional at 11 in the season of Advent. The other thing to share with you today is that we have decided a time for our Christmas Eve service. This year, we're going to offer one Christmas Eve service. It will be at 5 o'clock in the afternoon on Christmas Eve day. It will be a blended service of Awakening Contemporary and traditional styles and elements of worship. So we want to encourage you. Again, you'll be making a reservation for that. We'll be getting out the information about when to start sending in your reservation for the Christmas Eve service very soon. But we will have one service, 5 o'clock in the afternoon on Christmas Eve. It will be a blended service of Awakening Contemporary and traditional elements in worship. Now, one important thing to make sure you know that during the services of Advent and the service of Christmas Eve, it will be streamed live on Facebook and YouTube as well. We are not going to be leaving this venue of worship at all. So please be aware that all of these will also be found on the internet on those Sundays. The last thing I want to share with you has to do with the season of Advent as well. Years ago, when I was serving at the church in Thompson, Georgia, at the Thompson United Methodist Church, I had the opportunity to go down to St. Joseph Hospital and visit one of our church members during the Advent season. As I pulled into that parking lot there, there was a lawn out there in the front. And as I pulled in, I noticed a stable on one end of that lawn. And I noticed that it was bare except for some bales of hay and some animals, just some figures of animals there. As I looked, I caught something out of the corner of my eye, and it was men, and they were on the far end of the lawn, and they were moving various pieces of the Nativity. Now, I assumed they were moving them all to that end where the stable was. But as I began to make my journeys to St. Joseph Hospital about every other day, I realized that that was not what they were doing. They were relocating those pieces from one end of the lawn to the other a little bit every day. They were building some anticipation so that every day that the person's coming to the hospital, they would see a different scene. They would see Mary and Joseph and the donkey making their way toward the stable in Bethlehem. In the distance, they could see the wise men on the camels making their journey as well. And there were shepherds and sheep that were in different places on the lawn every time I went. It began to create in me this, I couldn't wait to go. I couldn't wait to see what was moving, where it was moving to. And it created an idea for me in the season of Advent. So when I had the privilege to become the pastor of a church on my own, I bought a nativity scene. At that time, it was a simple, all-white pottery nativity scene. I still have that nativity scene. It's in my office. And I would place up in the front just a few animals and nothing else. And I would begin to talk about the fact that baby Jesus isn't here yet, that the season of Advent is preparing our hearts to receive the blessing of Christ. And I would move Mary and Joseph from one window in the church to another each and every Sunday. The wise men stayed in the entrance area way far away and didn't start moving until after the birth of Jesus. The shepherds were always off somewhere else taking care of their sheep. And I began to do that in that church. When I was relocated from that church to the next church, I made my way into a Hallmark store one day, and I found a particular piece of sculpture. I found this piece of sculpture right here. And it was the first time I had ever seen a depiction of Joseph and a pregnant Mary and a donkey. It was so beautiful, I bought it on the spot. I began to use this piece as a way to illustrate the movement of Mary and Joseph, the journey that they had to take to get from Nazareth to Bethlehem. It painted such a wonderful picture for me, and I have used it ever since. And I moved this around the sanctuary at different places each and every Sunday to kind of create this anticipation of the birth of Christ. It was amazing how quickly the children in that church began to expect a new placement for Mary and Joseph every week. And when I forgot, they let me know that I didn't move Mary and Joseph. It became a wonderful part of the Advent season for me. And I also believe it was teaching the children and the adults that the anticipation of Christmas is more than just the presents under the tree. That the anticipation of Christmas is the anticipation of the birth of the greatest gift ever given, the birth of Christ Himself. So I had a thought for this year, trying to find a way to move this from just inside the sanctuary to be able to put it in the public so that maybe those of you who are not going to make your way to a worship service in person, but will watch us on Facebook and YouTube, could experience this in the community of Jasper as well. So I'm looking to make a purchase of a nativity scene for the outside of our building. I have found one that is made out of a PVC plastic material that should last a long, long time. The pieces are about 5 feet tall. The total cost for all the pieces, this includes Mary, Joseph, baby Jesus, the Nativity, angels, animals, shepherd, wise men, and camels, is going to be a little over $400. I'd like to also consider buying a couple of spotlights to put on the various pieces that be solar powered, that we can move them along with the pieces from time to time. So I'm sharing that with you today because it's a vision that I have, but I need some folks who would be interested in making a donation to see that happen. If you would be interested and want to give me a call, I can tell you how you can make that donation. If you want to talk to me about it, I'd be glad to hear. I considered making the pieces, but the more I talked to a couple other folks who I asked to help me, we all agreed that by the time we bought all the materials, we would spend in excess more than we are probably planning to spend with the purchase of this already constructed nativity. These will be silhouettes in white, and we will move them from time to time around our property here to give that same experience that we share inside of our walls on Sunday mornings with the folks driving by every day. I'm hoping that there are some out there that have a heart for this as I have and will take some interest in being a part of this. I'd love for you, if you're not able to make a donation but you're all in, that you'd be willing to come and talk with me about taking turns moving some wise men from place to place, moving Mary and Joseph from time to time, those kinds of things. But I'm hoping that it will be an opportunity to take what we experience inside of our sanctuary and share it with the community that we live in every day. Thank you for your time today. I really appreciate that you give me these moments each and every week. And I ask for your prayers as we enter into the most amazing time of the year for me. The Advent and Christmas season is just one of the highlights of ministry for me. The willingness of Jesus to come to earth, the willingness of God to come and dwell among us blows my mind. It just makes me realize how loved I am by the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. So I invite you to be a part of the Advent season as we move into that direction. Come and join us, watch us online, be a part of this opportunity of bringing the Nativity live to people outside as far as moving the pieces. But I hope you'll join us as we share together in one of the most amazing times of the year. God's blessings. Have a great rest of your week. Look forward to seeing some of you on Sunday morning. Look forward to seeing the rest of you through YouTube and Facebook. But always know that God loves you, and I love and appreciate who you are. Have a great day. Bye-bye.